All right, so today we're not just going to talk about ancient history. No, we're actually going to decode the 3,000-year-old source code of an entire culture. And the goal here? To see how it can literally upgrade our modern lives right now. So, check this out. It all kicks off with a mystery, one that's hidden in plain sight, right in modern data. Take a look at this map. See that sharp diagonal line? It basically slices India into two completely different cultural zones. For our sake, we'll call it the Ashri's line. And it's wild because on one side, you've got one set of behaviors. We're talking diet, language, even work culture. And then on the other side, a totally different world.
So that brings us to the big question, right? What is this invisible code? What ancient programming could possibly be so powerful that it splits 1 billion people into two different operating systems, and you can still see the effects today? It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
Okay, so to even begin to answer that, we have to go way back. Like, back to the very beginning. We need to access India's source code. And that source code is a collection of texts called the Vedas. Think of it this way. If India is a giant, super complex computer, then the Vedas, well, that's the original operating system it's been running on for thousands of years.
You know, the best way to wrap your head around the Vedas is to imagine them as a high-def tape recording of a civilization from 3,000 years ago. I mean, ruins and artifacts are cool, but they don't talk back. These texts, they give us this incredibly clear window into how people actually thought, what they wanted, what they dreamed of, and how their entire world changed over time.
So here's how it unfolds. The whole thing kicks off around 1500 BCE with the Rigveda. And this one is just packed with these intense hymns about desire and ambition. Then, after that, you get the other 3 Vedas, the Sama, the Ashri, and the Atharva, and they kind of develop all at the same time, in parallel. They start adding all these new layers, like melodies for chanting, step-by-step instructions for rituals, and even some pretty deep mystical knowledge. You could say each one added a new feature pack to the cultural OS.
All right, let's dive into the core of that original programming. It really starts with the main character of the early Vedas, a deity named Indra. And his whole philosophy, man, it's all about ambition and drive. And you'll see, it feels surprisingly relevant for us today.
You have to understand, in the Rigveda, Indra wasn't just some god. He was kind of everything. The god of kings, of warriors, of raw power. And he was not your gentle, turn the other cheek kind of deity. Nope. He was this immense force, and you had to earn his respect through your own strength, your own wins.
And this is where things get really interesting, because it sets up this huge philosophical clash. The mantra and the Rigveda, it's all about intense desire. You declare your goal, you become completely attached to your ambition, and you give every single thing you have to make it happen. Now, think about that. It's the absolute polar opposite of so much of the advice we hear today, right? Be detached. Don't worry about the results. Let it go.
And that brings us to the absolute heart of it. The core message of this Indra philosophy is simple. Achieve first. Go out there, build something, become something, gain power, gain wealth, because then and only then do you have something that's actually worthy of renouncing or letting go of. It's a philosophy built for the young, for the hungry, for the ambitious.
But here's the thing. Just like any good OS, this one didn't just stay on version 1.0 forever. It had to get some major updates. As society got more complex and different groups of people started merging, the code had to evolve to actually meet the needs of all these new users.
And you can actually track this evolution just by looking at the gods themselves. So we start with Indra, right? He's the god for the elites, the warriors, the kings. But as society expands and gets way more diverse, that OS needs a serious upgrade. So enter Krishna. He's a god for everyone. His stories and traditions, like Holi, are all about breaking down social barriers. And then you get Shiva, who's like the ultimate assimilator. He merges the old Vedic god Rudra with all these ancient local traditions from every corner of the subcontinent.
And get this whole system update thing, it was a feature, not a bug. It was this absolutely brilliant adaptation. And it's what finally explains the mystery of that Ashri's line we saw at the beginning. This philosophical evolution was the software patch that allowed those two totally different cultures on either side of that line to eventually merge and become one single incredibly complex civilization.
So, what does all this mean for you right now? Well, it means that Indian philosophy isn't some single rigid rulebook. It's more like a customizable user manual for your life, with totally different paths and even different difficulty levels you can choose from.
This roadmap here is a great way to see it. Just think of it like a video game with different difficulty settings. You've got easy mode. These are paths like bhakti, which is all about devotion, or karma yoga, selfless action. They're super accessible, anyone can jump in. But then, you've got hard mode. And this is where you find these schools of deep, tough, rigorous logic like Nyaya and Samkhya, which take some serious study. The whole point is, there isn't one right way. There's a path for literally every type of person.
And just to give you a quick taste of what that hard mode is like, let's look at Nyaya. This has nothing to do with faith. It is a system of formal logic. Seriously, it's all about epistemology, which is just a fancy word for the theory of knowledge itself. It asks questions like, how do we know what we know? How can we prove something is actually true? What counts as valid evidence? We're talking about thousands of years of pure rational inquiry baked right into the OS.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. The big question. How do we actually apply this ancient code to our modern lives? So here are the practical skills you can literally download from this ancient OS. First up, empathy. When you understand how this whole system was built specifically to bring together countless different cultures, that's a masterclass in seeing the world from someone else's point of view. Second, refined taste. Look, knowing the why behind a culture helps you develop better judgment. And that is a critical human skill, especially in a future that's going to be flooded with AI content. And finally, number 3, ambition. You get to tap into that raw, powerful Indra energy we talked about, that fire to really want something and then give your absolute all to get it. So, I'll leave you with this question. As you go out there to build your career, your life, to build the world of tomorrow, what is the ambition? What is the desire? What is that Indra energy that you need to unleash right now?